Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European Cross-Up webinar. And we already have daylight savings time, which I believe here in the States comes about 2 weeks before in Europe. So trying to let everybody know that it's starting now. And we'll take a look at a few things. Bear with me one moment. So we'll just quickly go over the economic news. Not a whole lot. We did have some German wholesale prices that came out, and as we roll into the States, we will go on and get Canadian housing starts, as well as manufacturing sales, and then nothing here in the States. But let's take a look at a few things. We are starting under some pressure right now. We're seeing not a whole lot, but we are seeing some pressure here in the indices. And what's happened is China's come under some pretty good little pressure. They actually have been weaker for a little while. I was referencing a headline from Forex Update, and but I had already realized that, because I know earlier in the week I saw some headlines about China warning about markets getting excessive, things like that. And so now we've actually started under some pressure, and Chinese stock market's already down 3%. Now in total, since February the 18th, it's showing they're down 16%. Obviously, that's going to weigh on risk to a certain extent, which it has, and it's also weighed on the Aussie dollar. So we'll just take a quick look at the Aussie dollar, just say where that stands. You can see that not too far off. We're looking at the daily, but there is going to be, and it's actually holding up pretty well, but there's going to be a little bit of pressure because, like I said, Chinese stocks are off down 3% for today, down 16% from February the 18th, which was the high mark. We're going to go and take a quick look. Well, I guess we can take right here, see it more clearly here. Let's switch this here. And look at the NASDAQ. Let's take a look on the daily. It's coming off a little bit, but more importantly, let's go and take a look at, we're into a 2 hour. Now, you know that like the Russell and the Dow, they've been on fire. You see that? Well, you can see right now the Dow, as it starts out today, it's forming like a little bit of a gravestone doji. And let's take a look at the Russell. Same thing here. What we've seen here is right from the get-go, looking at a 2 hour chart, here's the Russell with these, as soon as they opened them up, you can see these two gravestone dojis right here, a little bit more pronounced. And the Dow, look at these back-to-back gravestone dojis. Now, these suckers have been on fire. And I talked to one pretty big trader on a real successful floor trader on Friday, and there's, I had shared, I thought that we might be coming under some pressure, and he said everything they looked at point to much higher prices. So, and I think a lot of people were believing that, and I'm not doubting that overall, but my concern, I guess I was more focused on the NASDAQ, was because of the ongoing push in interest rates. But that being said, it's going to be pretty hard to ignore. I think we'll probably start off the week on the defensive side. It's going to be pretty hard to ignore. Bear with me. Hang on, just saying. Okay. Bear with me. Just saying good morning to Adam and letting him know the webinar's on, because we're on that daylight savings time. But I think that we're going to be somewhat on the defensive to start out the week. And we'll go in and take a look a little bit more closer here in the NAS and the S&P to give you an idea what we're looking at. Now, we're trying to bounce a little bit. Now, here's the get-go. I was looking at it early in Asia, and then I went to sleep. I got up a little bit early, but nonetheless, you can see here how we came off these lows. We held up on Friday very, very well. At the time I was talking to this one gentleman, I was letting him know, he looks more at the daily chart, and I was like, yeah, hey, look, they're holding up at this 38%, and If you look at this as, it's a weak low. I didn't think they could push much lower. And we saw a pretty nice rebound. And then we really kickstarted into Asia as we came all the way up here to this 13,000 area. And right there, I had a value. If you look on a profile, I had a value area low there and just a little bit higher initial balance area. And if you look here, obviously they had like a hanging man, and then we started going south. Now we're snapping up pretty good. We're getting a pretty good little rally right now. At this point, we had actually dropped down here and came with this low, and we saw a nice rally up to about 20 something, and then we just turned around and fell right back. Now we're coming back a little bit. I do see that the Dow, and let me take a look at generally don't look at them too closely, but we've actually just come right up here to the to the same day VWAP. Pressed a little bit high. See the Dow popping up pretty well, and the Russell. And the Russell, this is going to be resistance at 2361. We're just about there. Heck of a solid move here. Not sure it came across the board. If anything did. Not seeing anything specifically. There is some resistance here, 2942. Good little bounce there. Some good resistance here. Just not seeing, but just got the solid bounce here. And here's the Russell. That'd be 2361. The Dow. $32,787. Good bounce back here. We saw a bounce back here earlier, and this actually coincided with the 2-day VWAP at the time, and then they slapped them down pretty good. They kind of hung around just a little bit, and then they started just pressing lower. So we've seen a good little pullback from here. Actually went long for just a little bit, didn't stick around, but I'm concerned. Let me see what they'd have to get above on a half-hour close. Get above 2943. We pulled back just a hair a little bit, but we've seen this bounce. Not sure what generated this bounce, but pretty decent little bounce. But as I said, you can look at the decent bounce in the YM and decent bounce in Russell. Russell coming off just a hair bit, but we were pretty oversold. In the sense that we'd come down here, we bounced right in here. We kind of bounced a little bit and they faded them. We came down here to I had some good support here, and they bounced right back up. And then they faded, and then they've come back off a little bit. Would fade a little bit. Let me see, made up to 2936. This was a good area right here if someone's going to take the short side, but I wasn't sure if there's some news or something to really catapult this thing up. Look at that. Look at the volume right there. But we'd have to get, looking at this, 12,955. If someone was shorting this, they wouldn't want this market to get above 12,955. But if you look on the half hour, you could still say the same thing too. Here, look, right here, that would be your stop area, would be a 30-minute close just above 12,943. We've pulled up a little bit, but I'm just surprised as we came then and saw that run up. Not sure what generated that or got that going, but they did get a pretty good little bounce off of that. Even when I bought it, it didn't respond very well. It just kind of was holding up and moving up a little bit higher, and then it looks like out of nowhere with the Russell and the YM popping up. And it could be so got some European buying. Maybe that sparked it. We are coming off a little bit now from that, and this is some support. This is a key right here, this 2917-ish. We'll see if they can hold that. But it certainly looked to be in a bit of a weakened state. So with that being said, we'll just go in and cover the news. Bear with me. Markets just opened up in London. Always a pump. Yeah, that's what Jane was. That's what Jane's saying. So I guess so. But that's a heck of a pump. Although they knocked him pretty good. I'm saying is, don't forget, Chinese stocks are off 3%, off 16% since February the 18th. But that's a pretty good little dip. I was watching this sucker, and you came down here, and then we kind of held from this 12,900, bounced just a little bit. Came down here, and this is a great area right here. Actually, it supported 82. They came down to the 74, locked in real just perfectly. There was also a 2-day VWAP there, and you can see it right there at the time. and we saw a good bounce, and then they slapped it good. I mean, what they did was they kind of hung here, and then they just kind of went down into the single digits and sat there, and then they came back down, started pressing lower. So good little snapback, but I still got to think that probably gonna have some people on the defensive unless we see YM and Russell really start to move higher. They've tried to. Russell, like I said, 2361 would be resistance. They just about made it there. And the Dow holding up pretty well also. 32,785. But I'm kind of questioning how much further this can go. Let's take a look at a 2-hour chart. It's not that it can't go higher, but I think we're going to start the week on the defensive. Let's see, right there. Like I said, that 12,955-ish around there. But we'll see, because like I said, they knocked him once and then they knocked him a second time to take out some support, and they bounced back. Let's see what they can do. So let's give them a good half hour, an hour to see what they can go and do. But yeah, I guess that bounce back that Jane was noting, I think some people would look to exit out of that, but we'll see what happens. Let's go and take a look at the news. I'm going to jump into the other screen. Oh, and by the way, good morning, Jane. I didn't see you in the, that she did put in there. So that in a moment. So let's go. Now we are here in this screen, and you can see here how the YM's kind of bounced back. You can see those two gravestone dojis really put it under some pressure with the Chinese stock news, but we're seeing a bounce back. But kind of wonder, I would think, it could be wrong, but I'm saying is I would think that some people might use that to lighten up a little bit. We'll see. Let's go and move into the news. I don't have anything on, so I'm not talking my book or anything, but okay. And we did see a nice jump in Bitcoin over the weekend. Bitcoin takes a breather after the retreat from a record near 62,000. Consolidated around 60,000 on Monday, taking a breather off from the weekly highs. I did share a story. Say good morning to Jack. I did go on and share a story in the chat in Reuters that in India they're going to be banning Bitcoin. You can't even have it in your possession. Obviously, it's not like as if you're carrying it, but I'm saying is that you're even a holder. I mean, they're going full bore against it, so we might see a little bit more, pressure to start out the week. But it says India will propose a law banning cryptocurrencies, fining anyone trading in the country or even holding such digital assets. A senior government official told Reuters. So we'll see. They're trying to make a little push here in the NQ. We'll see. And YM, I'm kind of curious to see how they come about over the next half hour to hour. But anyway, the rally may have been dampened by Reuters. Oh, that is. Reuters report that India would pursue a digital assets, a rain cloud for Bitcoin, following its high-profile endorsements this year from the likes of Tesla's Elon Musk and Twitter's Jack Dorsey. India's pretty huge. So, like I said, that may kind of slow things down a little bit. Let's see what happens. Investments by institutional investors and corporates is increasing. It's what's called the financialization of Bitcoin, said Masasumi Yamamoto. Bitcoin's weekend surge was helped by an improvement in risk appetite in financial markets after President Joe Biden signed his 1.9 trillion fiscal stimulus package. The momentum carried into thinner markets on the weekend, with the technical factors magnifying the moves higher, blah, blah, blah. So there we go there. Curious to see how much we can run in these indices. You can see right now, here's the Dow futures. They're actually above those key closes on those dojis. We'll have to see what they can do with it. Let's mark that up. Holy smokes, I wish I would have kept my longs, but the market wasn't even moving. I mean, even after I got them at a pretty good doggone good price too. Anyway, nonetheless, let's go and move on. Forex dollar firms amid U.S. yield spikes and Bitcoin hovers around 60,000. The U.S. dollar held firm on Monday after bouncing off one-week low last week, supported by a spike in benchmark treasury yields. The greenback rose against the yen to 109.12. Market participants have grown wary in recent weeks that massive fiscal stimulus, pent-up consumer demand could lead to a jump in inflation that's expanding. Both the dollar and the treasury yields are on the uptrend. There's no big change in that view. The dollar is especially likely to firm against the yen and the euro in the near term. Producer prices had their biggest annual gain in 2.5 years. Data showed on Friday. Focus would be on the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting. Expectations are running for the central bank to announce major policy changes. I would think that's got to be wrong. It would be not to announce major policy, but we'll see. That's what it says. Canadian dollar was largely flat, strengthened to 24.55 for the first time in 3 years. On Friday, a bigger than expected domestic jobs gain supported the view. Bitcoin was up to 60,000. India's potential ban on cryptocurrencies. And there's that. This little bar thing, so that it'll just, so I can close this out, it's not coming up. I don't know what's going on there. Oh, well, I'm already done with it anyway, so I can close it out. So let's go on and bring up the bias chart and we can get started. And take a look at gold too. Gold's at 1723. If you look here, and I was actually going to take some time, things are going, to take a look at the gold with the profile. You can see here the volume point of control right here at 1723, and the high and initial bounce range was 1730, right here at 1733, and you can see that actually happens to coincide with today's high right here. If you look at it, 1733, 1732.60. So we pulled back into the point of control here, and we actually dipped just below it, but we're trying to, it was about a half an hour ago, it was below, but we're kind of hanging around that 1723, that point of control right here. And we'll see, but the range is pretty tight. Now this is from the day before, not on Friday, but from the day before. And bear with me. Letting Irina know that the webinar is on. So let's go on and get started on the euro. We are seeing the NASDAQ at 922. We're still holding up around here, but a little bit off those highs. But we're still firming here. Look at the Dow futures, but they haven't been able to, we'll have to find out whether or not they can close. I doubt it, whether they can close above this, that level, but we'll see. Let's go move into the euro. See where we stand. So the euro closed the week at 1950 after a 3-day rally. 1, 2, 3. Resistance to start the week will be 2010 with support at 1913. You can see the 1913 right there. For a little pullback, you can see the importance of 1913. Looks like we've already tried to make a move lower. Low for the day is 1917, but got support at 1913. Okay, so we already had that, so we'll keep that the same. 2010. And there's going to be resistance. And let's go on and move into the cable. So cable closed the prior week, closing above 3,900, 139. Resistance to start the week will be 39.91 with support at 38.84. Kind of a mixed bag in it right here. Look at that. Really tight range here for the cable. And let's go move into the odd. Now, the odds saw a recovery rally off the lows to finish the week in the upper portion of the range. Boy, that was a very nice rally this week. We closed right here on Friday, but that was a nice rally off those lows. To finish the week in the upper range for the week, resistance to start the week will be 78.04 with support at 77.22. Looks like we've already dipped down there at 77.22. Remember, Chinese stocks are off 3% this morning and actually off 16% since their highs. So seeing a little bit of pressure. Actually, Aussie's probably holding up better than what I would have expected considering the circumstances. But nonetheless, we're looking at 77.22. Looks like that might already be the session's low. And the high, good luck getting there, 78.04. There's that 78.04. Let's go move into the Kiwi. So the Kiwi rallied with risks throughout the week, but closed sub 72. Support to start the week will be 71.33 with resistance at 72.29. And on to the dollar CAD. The dollar CAD broke to new lows to end the week. You can see Friday right there. Immediate support will be 24.35, followed by solid demand at 24.11. So resistance will be 25.13. So 24.35. And 25.13. Obviously bearish. Let's move on to the dollar peso. The dollar peso saw a dramatic fall from grace that mirrored the prior week's move. Obviously, look at the prior week before that. Look at that. Look, it just matches. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. Actually, there's a 4 there. And look at this. 1, 2, 3 on the way back down. So it mirrored it, but going in the reverse direction. Saw a dramatic move that fell from grace that mirrored the prior week's move. The pair closed above the breakout support level of 2062. Remember, we talked about that. We did the little extension, gave us 2162. We did that extension about 3 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer. The pair closed above breakout support level of 2062. Support to start the week will be 2052 with resistance at 2083. It's still bullish. If we get a couple of consecutive closes below 2062, then that'll change. On to the dollar yen. So the dollar yen closed with a new weekly high. Signs point to test the weekly level of 957, which will be resistance. Support will be 841. So if we move this to a weekly chart, you can see that 957. I've actually had that as a resistance a couple of times last week. Looks like we're trying to make a move towards that level. We'll see if we get there or not, but it's going to be 884. Actually, we did have the 957. Look at that. We'll go. That's a weekly level. That's huge. I guess we'll leave the asterisk there. And did I say 884? Nope, 841. Thought that 884 seemed a bit high. Let's go move into the cash dollar index. The dollar index was not able to muster a sustained rally despite the rise in U.S. rates. Support to start the week will be 91.23 with resistance at 92.02. Still bearish. On to the cross rates. This Kiwi yen is bananas. Look at that thing. So the Kiwi yen continues to remain elevated. Resistance to start the week will be 78.71. You can see it right there. With support at 77.39. No doubt bullish. Let's go to the euro pound. Back to the daily. That thing looks sick as a dog. The euro pound posted two back-to-back dojis on Wednesday. You can see them right here. And Thursday of the prior week, suggesting the downside may be exhausting itself. Support to start the week will be 85.31 with resistance at 86.18, followed by 86.58. So 85.31 and 86.18. Next is the Eurocad. The Eurocad remains weak. Key support to start the week for the bulls will be to defend 53.52 with resistance at 54.87. You can see the 54.87. So 53.52 is what the bulls have got to defend if they're going to defend it. And 54.87. And onto the Euro Kiwi. Still looking terrible. The Euro Kiwi posted a solid rebound on Friday, eclipsing the close of the prior 4 days. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that. But look at this. We're down in the dirt again. Resistance to start the week will be 66.90, followed by 67.45. Support will be 65.80. Well, we're already below that. And right now, this market is sucking wind. And look, it needs to defend this level. We will need to update that because that's a huge key level. And if it loses that, it's sayonara. Now, it is a hair below it, but it's going to be 65.72. And resistance will be this level right there, which is 66.79. On to the Aussie. The Aussie closed at the best levels of the week on Friday. You can see that right there. Resistance will be the weekly level of 84.79 there, followed by 85.20. Support will be 83.72. Surprised it's still holding up that well, but nonetheless it is. So 84.79. And support 83.72. And on to the guppy. And this thing is still going strong. But we have some key weekly levels here. Let's take a look at that. I haven't traded this in forever and a day, but I like this area between 52 and 52.78. That looks, I mean, it looks good. It's on a weekly. It's going to have a hard time trying to get beyond that, I would think. The guppy closed the week at another high. Looking ahead, resistance comes in at weekly levels 52 even and 52.78. Support will be 51.01 followed by 50.50. So and those are weekly levels. And support will be 51.01. Looks pretty good, though, right there. Let's go move into the sterling odd. A little bit of a kick in here. We're moving higher. The sterling odd is pairing back after a second failed breakout above weekly level 80.36. The pair will look to reload at 78.66 for bulls as support with resistance at 80.12. Well, we're trying to make a move higher, so it's going to be resistance is 80.12. And support right now is going to come in right there at that open. It's called 79.24. And there's the bias chart for today. As I mentioned earlier, we were taking a look at gold. We're just holding here. If you look at gold, here's gold on the profile chart. You can see this is Friday because I just go at the RTH, regular trading hours. But on Thursday, you can see the point of control is right there at 1723, and that's exactly where we're at. And what was the high? Well, the high was 1733, and it also was the initial balance area high. So you can see how that, if you look at and you use this profile, and you said, hey, where's the market going? You can see they ran out of gas right there at that initial balance and high from Thursday. And then we paired back. We found a little bit of support at 1723. We paired back just about $1 or $2 lower before, and we've moved right back to 1723, which is key. You can see here we have this point of control from Wednesday. And if you look at it on, and that was right here, basically 1715, 1716. So we take a look at it on a 2-hour chart. think you have to look on a 3-hour chart. I mean, a 30-minute chart. But you can see here, right there, you see how the market, we got this little stab right here, we get this little doji. Once it was able to close just above that doji, that opened the door for them to move higher. And where'd they go to? Right to that initial balance area high and the high from Thursday. And you can see the support 1723, which is exactly where they're at, which is the point of control. Let's take a look here. Crude still holding up relatively well, but once again, with the whole China thing, we might see a little bit of pressure. We are seeing just a bit coming in here. They opened them up and they've been fading. Since then, we saw a little bit of a jump just now, and then we came right back in place. And take a look at the 10-year note. We'll wrap up with that. There we go. Oh, we have come off these lows. We were kind of hugging the lows earlier. Not hugely off the lows, but we are off the lows. The lows are at 31.23. We're at 31.28. We need to get above 31.31 just for starters, and we would need a 2-hour close above 31.31. And finally, Elias wants me to take a look at Eurocad, and then Didier wants to look at. We did look at West Texas Intermediate and Bitcoin, so I don't follow Eurocad, but we'll take a look at it. Hold on. Oh, we've got a bad piece of data here. Hold on, let's see if we can get out of that. So it'll negate it. Okay. That bad piece of data is kind of messing things up though, because look, can't get a good read on that. See here. But it looks like we're on the lower end anyway. So there we go. We need to hold. And once again, I can't see beyond this without trying to get rid of that bad piece. Well, like we can see here. Let's see. We can correct this bar. I think it might be 1.47. There we go. So now we can take a little bit better look. 48.01. That support there. 48.01, and this is on a weekly closing. So you're still risking down to 48 even. And we can't dip below that, but it's got to close. It's got to defend 48.01 on a closing basis. We have really come off quite a bit. If you look at it on a fib, we're just beyond the 61%. And there is some support right there, that high, which is 48.66. But the key thing is it needs to defend 48.01 on a weekly close. And we're just at the start of the week. Problem is that the CAD's been so strong, and Euro still remains weak. And Didier, once again, wanted to look at the West Texas Intermediate, maybe a little bit closer look. There's a weekly there on that. And take a look at the daily. Under a little bit of pressure, what we would need to do right from the get-go to get Sparks a little bit higher, we need to close above 66.28 right there. 66.20. And if you think about shorting it, or you're short, as long as we don't get a daily close above 66.28, you'd be in good shape if you're short. Don't forget, China's in a little bit of trouble here. I think we're going to start the week on the defensive side across the board on these risk assets. Doesn't mean we're going to go lower, but we may start on that. And then for them to defend on a 2-hour close is going to be 65.79. So if you're short right now, you'll probably see them cover a little bit around 65.79. It's still bullish, but once again, we may start this week a bit on the defensive. Maybe we come to the New York session, they press it down a little bit further, but definitely they need to go and defend this area, which is 66, 65, 49. But for starters, 2-hour close, they may try and defend right there, which is 65.79. But I think they'll start a little bit on the defensive when we come to the U.S. session. And then Bitcoin. And we're trying to push up a little bit. I mean, we're just we jumped up here out of nowhere, because you can see how we were just sitting down there. I got long down here. Actually, I think I got long. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I'm not even joking. I got long here. I think it was 68. 68 where I got long. Or no, I'm wrong. I think it was 69. And it wasn't going nowhere. And I look like it took a long time. But don't forget, we'd already come down here. We saw a nice rally, I think it's from around here, and a decent rally from here. And they kind of I wouldn't say they slapped it down immediately, but it sat there, and then they just started dripping right back down. I thought, well, this is good. They should see a bounce. And it just sat there, and we were really under some intense pressure. I'm thinking they could have still dropped down to potentially down to 12,845. So, but then we finally woke up, and these are 5-minute bars, so it didn't wake up for about another 25, 30 minutes. Then we just jumped up, as like I said, as Jane said, as Europe came on board, they pushed them up, but I'm still kind of curious what they're going to do. Moving on to Bitcoin, though. Same thing here with Bitcoin. I think they're going to be a little bit under defensive with this whole India story. I think it opens the door for them to move lower, and then the key thing for them is going to be right here. I think right there, which is going to be 56,298. There'll be some support right there with all these touches. You see that coming across? All these little closes. That's 57,198, which is where they found support, just a little bit above it. But I still think they'll have to come down here and down here, this 56,280. I think we'll see some more pressure. And then this area should see some decent demand between 55,750 and 56,300. But I would think we'd be under some pressure. That India story is going to weigh on it, and we are seeing some risk under some pressure itself. That'll do it here. Thanks for joining us here in the European Crossover webinar, and we'll see you in the chat room.